The signal came from the edge of nowhere, a single pulse of encrypted data, ancient and unmistakably human. It rippled through the cold expanse of space, reaching the receivers of the Viral's hand as it drifted through the Lyrax Nebula. Captain Rizalek's tendrils quivered in curiosity, his luminous yellow eyes narrowing on the holographic display before him. The transmission bore a message that hadn't been heard in over 3 centuries. This is Earth's sovereign command. Stay away from Sol. You have been warned. The bridge of the Viral's hand descended into silence. The crew, a diverse assembly of the galaxy's most cunning scavengers and opportunists, exchanged nervous glances. The name Earth hung in the air like a specter. Captain, ventured Lieutenant Varlek, his scaled hands twitching as he adjusted the communications console. It's broadcasting on a loop. The signal appears ancient, but intact. I can isolate its origin. Rizalek leaned forward, his serpentine frame uncoiling slightly as he considered the implications. Earth had been a name whispered in fear, the boogeyman of galactic history. Once a hub of unmatched technological prowess, humanity had vanished after the galactic conflict, retreating behind a shield that no weapon could penetrate. What remained was a dead system, forbidden to travelers and ignored even by the most daring explorers. Until now. Do it, Rizalek ordered, his voice low but commanding. Varlek hesitated. With respect, Captain, should we? The stories. The stories are myths, Rizalek interrupted sharply. His tendrils flicked in irritation. Humanity is gone. They abandoned their empire centuries ago. Whatever's left, it's ours for the taking. Technology, artifacts, wealth beyond imagining. Do you want to cower over ghost tales, or do you want to be remembered? The crew muttered among themselves, but no one openly opposed him. Rizalek's reputation was well earned. He was a leader who thrived on risk, whose gambles had taken them to forbidden worlds and uncovered treasures that others feared to seek. Triangulate the signal, Rizalek commanded. Set course for the Sol system. The holographic map shifted, displaying the long-abandoned heart of humanity's empire. The system's outer edges were littered with the wreckage of long-dead fleets, remnants of battles fought in the final days of the galactic conflict. At its center, Earth loomed, hidden beneath a shimmering energy shield that had defied every attempt to penetrate it. Captain, said Chief Engineer Halver, his cybernetic implants glinting in the dim bridge light. If the shield is still active, we'll need more than brute force to get through. I'm aware, Rizalek said, his gaze fixed on the display. But nothing lasts forever, not even human arrogance. We'll find a way. As the Viral's hand entered warp, whispers spread among the crew. They spoke of Earth's rumored atrocities, the unthinkable weapons humanity had unleashed during the war. Some claimed that the shield wasn't just protection but a cage, keeping humanity's monstrosities locked away. Others argued that Earth was a graveyard, its people long dead and their treasures ripe for plundering. Hours later, the ship emerged on the fringes of the Sol system. The first sight was a graveyard of ships, rusted hulks from a forgotten era, drifting aimlessly through the void. Their designs were unmistakably human, scarred by plasma burns and shattered by impacts. Scan the area, Rizalek ordered. The sensors hummed, and Varlek's voice trembled as he spoke. No signs of activity, but the shield is still active. Energy levels are off the scale. Whatever's powering it is beyond our comprehension. Rizalek smirked. Good. That means it's valuable. But before they could advance, the ship's systems flickered. Lights dimmed, consoles reset, and a cold, mechanical voice echoed across the bridge. Warning. You have entered restricted space. Turn back immediately. The crew froze. Rizalek's smirk faded. Identify the source of that transmission, he barked. It's coming from everywhere, Varlek stammered. The shield, the debris, it's like the system itself is alive. The lights flickered again, and the voice repeated, colder this time. You were warned. A sudden jolt rocked the Viral's hand. Alarms blared as the ship's engine stalled. Rizalek's tendrils stiffened in rage, but beneath his defiance, a seed of doubt began to take root. Something was waiting for them. Something ancient. Something human. The Sol system was unnervingly quiet. The viral's hand drifted toward Earth, its engines subdued as the ship's scanners worked overtime. The crew huddled on the bridge, their collective unease growing with every passing moment. The silence was unnatural, oppressive, a void that seemed to amplify every breath, every nervous shuffle of clawed feet and scaled hands. Earth's shield loomed ahead, a shimmering barrier that encased the planet in an iridescent sphere. It pulsed faintly, as if alive, its surface rippling with energy patterns far beyond the comprehension of the alien crew. Captain Rizalik stood at the viewport, his serpentine frame rigid, his luminous eyes locked on the impenetrable barrier. "This is what they left behind," muttered Lieutenant Varlek, his voice tinged with awe and dread. "How can anything generate that much energy for so long?" "It doesn't matter how," Rizalik snapped, his tone sharp. "What matters is what's inside. If humanity abandoned this system, then whatever powers that shield is automated. Machines fail. Systems degrade. We'll find a way through." Chief Engineer Halver stepped forward, his cybernetic implants humming softly as he accessed the ship's diagnostic console. "Captain, I've run every scan we have. That shield isn't just a barrier, it's adaptive. It's analyzing us, reacting to our presence. I don't think it's dormant at all." Rizalik turned to face him, his tendrils twitching with irritation. "Then we'll force it to open. Launch the probes." Varlek hesitated. "Captain." "Now, Lieutenant," Rizalik growled, his patience wearing thin. With a reluctant nod, Varlek activated the launch sequence. 3 sleek drones shot forward, their engines burning bright as they raced toward the shield. The crew watched in tense silence as the probes approached the shimmering barrier. The first probe disintegrated on contact, its sleek form reduced to a cascade of glowing particles. The second probe managed to penetrate a few meters before detonating in a burst of light. The third probe transmitted a fragmented data stream before meeting the same fate. "Shields destroyed all 3, Varlek reported, his voice trembling. "No readings from inside. It's like the shield absorbs everything." Rizalik's eyes narrowed. "Every system has a weakness. We'll find it." But as he spoke, the ship's lights flickered, and a familiar cold voice filled the bridge once more. "This is your final warning. Leave this system immediately." The message wasn't a broadcast, it was in their ship's systems, overriding their communications. The crew exchanged panicked glances, their confidence eroding with every eerie word. "What is this?" demanded Halver, his mechanical fingers flying over the console. "It's infiltrating our systems, every subsystem is being probed." "Shut it out," Rizalik ordered, his voice hard. "I'm trying, but it's faster than anything I've ever seen." Halver replied, his tone edging into desperation. The ship trembled, and the viewport's holographic display shifted to an external view of Earth. The shield rippled, and for a brief moment, an image flickered across its surface, a massive, ancient cityscape. Towering spires rose into the heavens, surrounded by a landscape of impossible beauty and devastation. The vision was gone as quickly as it appeared, leaving the crew in stunned silence. What was that?" Varlek whispered. "A message," Rizalik said, his voice low. "A glimpse of what's waiting for us. They want us to know." Halver's console emitted a sharp tone. "Captain, I'm detecting massive energy signatures beneath the surface of the planet. Whatever's powering that shield is buried deep, deeper than any infrastructure I've seen before. This isn't just a shield. It's a fortress." Rizalik's gaze hardened. "Then we'll find the key to unlock it." The crew's murmurs grew louder, uncertainty rippling through them like a wave. Stories of Earth's past atrocities resurfaced, whispers of weapons that could tear apart stars, of experiments that defied the laws of nature. "We shouldn't be here," Varlek muttered under his breath. Rizalik's tendrils lashed in anger. "Cowards have no place on this ship. Humanity is gone. Whatever ghosts they left behind are nothing but echoes." But even as he spoke, the oppressive silence of the Sol system seemed to mock his bravado. The ship's scanners continued to report anomalies, energy spikes, fleeting signals, and faint movements in the debris fields. Then, the warning came again, louder this time, reverberating through the ship's hull. "You were warned." The crew froze as a new blip appeared on the sensors. A single vessel, small and unarmed, emerged from the far side of the moon. Its design was unmistakably human, sleek and angular, and it broadcast a single word in every known galactic language. Leave. The ship hung in space, a silent sentinel. On the bridge of the Viral's hand, no one dared speak. For the first time, Captain Rizalik felt a flicker of something foreign and unwelcome, fear. The human vessel floated in the void, its matte black hull absorbing the faint light of Sol. It was unassuming, barely larger than a shuttle, yet its presence was a warning writ large. The Viral's hand loomed above it, bristling with weapons, its alien crew armed with centuries of technology and cunning. And yet, no one moved. No one dared. Captain Rizalik stood rigid, his tendrils twitching with suppressed anger. His luminous eyes scanned the small ship on the holographic display. "A decoy," he muttered, his voice sharp. "A last-ditch effort to scare us away." "It's unarmed," Varlik said, his scaled fingers trembling as they skimmed the console. "But its systems are broadcasting something, encrypted data streams I've never seen before." Rizalik dismissed the hesitation in Varlik's voice. "Bring it into targeting range. Let them see what happens when they challenge us." "But, Captain," Varlik protested, "it's now." Rizalik roared, his voice echoing across the bridge. With a reluctant nod, Varlik complied, directing the ship's weapons to lock onto the human vessel. The crew exchanged uneasy glances, their unease palpable. Stories of humanity's defiance and brutality still lingered in the galaxy's collective memory, but Rizalik's ambition burned brighter than caution. "Fire," Rizalik commanded, his voice icy. The ship's primary plasma cannon charged, unleashing a beam of searing energy that streaked through the void. It struck the human vessel squarely and vanished. No explosion, no debris. The energy rippled across the surface of the ship, absorbed like a drop of water into a parched desert. The bridge descended into stunned silence. It neutralized the attack," Halver stammered, his cybernetic fingers trembling over the diagnostic console. "That shouldn't be possible." "Impossible is a word for the weak," Rizalik growled. "Fire again." Full power. The plasma cannon discharged once more, followed by a barrage of auxiliary weapons. Missiles, beams, and projectiles converged on the tiny ship, only to be swallowed whole. The vessel remained untouched, floating serenely as if mocking them. The lights on the bridge flickered, and a cold chill swept through the ship. The alien crew froze as the voice returned, calm, calculated, and undeniably human. "You were warned." The small ship surged forward, closing the distance in an instant. Before the Viral's hand could react, the human vessel transmitted a data burst, flooding their systems. Screens flickered and died, consoles buzzed with static, and the bridge descended into chaos. "Captain!" Halver shouted, his mechanical implants sparking as he wrestled with his terminal. "It's in our systems, every subsystem is being compromised." "Shut it out!" Rizalik roared, his tendrils lashing. "Reboot the firewalls." "I can't." Halver replied, panic creeping into his voice. "It's rewriting the core code faster than I can counteract." The main viewport flickered, and an image appeared, Earth, as it once was. Vast cities sprawled across continents, their skyscrapers reaching into the heavens. Starships dotted the skies, and energy shields shimmered over gleaming metropolises. It was a vision of power, progress, and absolute dominion. Then the image shifted. The cities fell into ruin, fire consuming the skies as massive battles raged. Monstrous war machines, human creations, tore through enemy fleets. The scale of destruction was unimaginable, and the message was clear: humanity was unmatched in its capacity for war. The voice returned, quieter this time but laced with menace. "This is what you face. This is what we became. Leave or be unmade." The image vanished, and the bridge was plunged into darkness. Emergency lights flickered to life as the ship's engines faltered. Rizalik's fury boiled over. "Send out probes," he barked. "Re-establish control of the ship and prepare for evasive maneuvers." Before anyone could respond, the human ship exploded in a silent, blinding flash of light. The crew shielded their eyes, and when the light faded, the Viral's hand was adrift. Systems flickered to life, only to display a single, chilling message across every screen. You were warned. Razalek clenched his jaw, his confidence shaken but unbroken. This changes nothing, he snarled. Humanity was powerful once, but they're gone. Ghosts can't stop us. Halvar hesitated, his voice low. Captain, I don't think they're gone. Whatever's down there, it's still alive. Razalek turned his gaze back to the shimmering shield surrounding Earth. For the first time, he felt the weight of the unknown pressing against his resolve. But his ambition wouldn't let him retreat. Prepare to breach the shield, he ordered. If humanity wants a fight, we'll give them one. As the crew scrambled to comply, the captain's words hung heavy in the air, a challenge cast into the abyss. Somewhere, deep beneath Earth's shielded surface, something stirred. And it was listening. The viral's hand hung in orbit, its hull battered by the invisible weight of dread. Every attempt to breach Earth's shield had failed, and now the crew found themselves at the mercy of something far beyond their understanding. Systems flickered erratically, whispers of static filled the corridors, and the oppressive silence of the Sol system seemed to press against their very souls. Captain Razalek sat in his command chair, his serpentine frame coiled tightly as he scanned the bridge. The tension was palpable. His crew, once bold and eager, now avoided his gaze. Doubt had infected them, and he could feel its creeping tendrils threatening his authority. Status report, he barked, his voice cutting through the heavy silence. Halvar, the ship's chief engineer, looked up from his console. His cybernetic implants glinted under the dim emergency lighting, but his usually steady demeanor was replaced by unease. The shield is still impenetrable, he said, his tone clipped. Every energy weapon we've used has been absorbed. Our probes are destroyed before they can relay anything useful. Suggestions? Razalek's eyes narrowed. Halvar hesitated. Captain, I think we're being watched. The bridge fell silent. The crew exchanged nervous glances, their unease growing. What do you mean? Razalek demanded. Halvar gestured to his console. The shield isn't just a barrier. It's aware. Every time we attack or scan it, it adjusts, as if it's studying us. And there's something else. Out with it, Razalek growled. The energy signatures coming from the planet, they're not random. They're deliberate, like pulses. I think they're trying to communicate. Before Razalek could respond, the ship shuddered violently. Consoles sparked, alarms blared, and the bridge was thrown into chaos. What was that? Razalek shouted, gripping the armrests of his chair. Varlek, the ship's communications officer, frantically worked his console. Captain, we've lost propulsion. And the shield, it's expanding. The viewport showed the shimmering barrier stretching outward, its translucent surface rippling as it engulfed the viral's hand. The crew watched in horror as the ship was drawn closer to Earth, its engines powerless against the unseen force. This is impossible, Halvar muttered, his cybernetic hands trembling as he tried to regain control of the ship's systems. We're being pulled in, but there's no detectable source of gravity. It's like the planet itself is reaching for us. The ship's lights flickered, and a new sound filled the bridge, a low, resonant hum that seemed to emanate from the very walls. It wasn't mechanical, nor was it natural. It was a voice, ancient and unrelenting, speaking in a language that none of them could understand yet felt in their bones. Crew members began to panic. Varlek clutched his head, his scaled hands trembling. Captain, I can hear it. It's in my mind. What are you talking about? Razalek demanded, but he could feel it too, a pressure in his thoughts, a presence that wasn't his own. The hum grew louder, resolving into fragmented words. The voice wasn't speaking to them, it was speaking through them. Fragments of thought surfaced, not their own, but alien, human, and terrifying. They came to us. They wanted to see. And we showed them. Razalek staggered back as the words echoed in his mind. He shook his head, trying to focus. Enough of this, he roared. This is just a trick. A psychological attack. Fight it. But his crew was unraveling. Varlek collapsed to his knees, his eyes wide with terror. Halvar muttered incoherently, his implants sparking as if overloaded by an unseen force. Others screamed, clutching their heads, their voices mingling with the hum that now filled the entire ship. Suddenly, the viewport darkened. The shimmering shield dissipated, revealing Earth's surface for the first time. What they saw stole the breath from their lungs. Massive structures rose from the oceans, their blackened spires piercing the atmosphere. They looked ancient yet impossibly advanced, their surfaces etched with glowing patterns that shifted and writhed like living things. The energy signatures Halvar had detected now radiated from these structures, their power rippling through the planet's atmosphere. "Captain," Halvar croaked, his voice barely audible. "Those aren't just buildings. They're alive." Before Razalik could respond, the ship's systems surged to life, but not under their control. The main display lit up with a message in perfect galactic standard. "This is your final lesson. You should have stayed away." The ship shuddered as the unseen force released it. Alarms blared as propulsion returned, but no one moved. The crew was paralyzed, their fear palpable. "Captain," Varlek whispered, his voice shaking. "We have to leave." Razalik stared at the rising structures below, his ambition clashing with the undeniable terror that gripped him. But he wasn't ready to admit defeat, not yet. "Prepare for another assault," he ordered, his voice firm despite the dread gnawing at him. "Humanity wants to scare us, but they've revealed their hand. We'll strike now, before they can finish whatever this is." The crew hesitated, their eyes pleading for a different command. The hum returned, louder now, reverberating through the ship. And as the ancient spires on Earth's surface began to move, one thought echoed in their minds. "You were warned." The bridge of the Viral's hand was a hive of chaos. The rising spires on Earth's surface were unmistakably alive, their obsidian forms twisting and growing as if responding to some unspoken command. Pulses of energy surged from their cores, radiating across the planet's surface and up into space, surrounding the alien ship in an unrelenting grip of power. Captain Razalik stood at the center of it all, his luminous eyes fixed on the display. He refused to let fear take root, though his tendrils twitched with tension. Around him, his crew scrambled to regain control, their panic palpable as the hum of the unseen voice grew louder, reverberating through the hull. "Report!" Razalik barked, his voice cutting through the chaos. Halvar's cybernetic hands flew over the console, his implants flickering with strain. "The structures are generating energy levels beyond anything I've ever seen. It's destabilizing our systems. Whatever's happening down there, it's escalating." "And the shield?" Razalik demanded. "Gone," Halvar replied, his voice heavy. "But it doesn't matter. We're outmatched." Razalik's jaw tightened. "Prepare the main cannon. If they want a fight, we'll give them one. Target the largest structure and fire at full power." "Captain," Varlek interjected, his voice trembling. "We shouldn't provoke them further. This is beyond us. We need to leave while we still can." "Leave?" Razalik's tendrils lashed the air. "We didn't come this far to turn back like cowards. Humanity is bluffing. They've relied on fear and deception to keep the galaxy away. Now we'll show them what real power looks like." The crew hesitated, fear etched into their expressions, but they obeyed. The main cannon charged, its core glowing with concentrated energy. The bridge dimmed as the weapon prepared to unleash its full fury. "Fire," Razalik commanded. A blinding beam of energy lanced toward the planet, striking the largest of the rising spires. For a moment, the crew thought they'd succeeded. The spire shuddered, its surface rippling under the impact. But then, the energy dissipated, absorbed like a drop of water into an infinite ocean. The spire pulsed in response, and the hum transformed into a deafening roar. A wave of energy shot upward, striking the Viral's hand. The ship groaned under the impact, its hull trembling as systems failed one by one. "Shields are down," Varlek shouted. "We're completely exposed." Razalik clenched his fists, his confidence finally faltering. "Evasive maneuvers. Get us out of here." Halvar's voice was grim. "It's too late. They've locked onto us." The viewport darkened as the spires on Earth began to shift. Massive sections of the structures unfolded like petals, revealing blinding cores of energy. A beam of light shot from each spire, converging into a single, devastating column that reached into space. The ship was caught in the beam, its hull buckling under the unimaginable force. Consoles exploded, sparks flying as the bridge descended into chaos. Crew members screamed, their fear echoing through the ship. And then, silence. The viral's hand was frozen in place, suspended in the column of light. The hum returned, quieter now but unmistakably present, a voice that resonated in their minds. You were warned. You did not listen. Now you will see. The viewport flickered, displaying Earth once more. But this time, it was no longer the broken, abandoned planet they had imagined. The spires were now fully awake, their energy signatures spiking beyond measurement. Above the planet, a massive structure began to emerge from the ocean, a ship, larger than anything the galaxy had ever known. Its design was sleek yet brutal, its hull etched with the same glowing patterns as the spires. It rose slowly, deliberately, its presence suffocating. The energy radiating from it was incomprehensible, a testament to humanity's ascension into something far greater than the galaxy had ever anticipated. The voice returned, calm but final. We retreated to evolve. To ascend. You sought to disturb our sanctuary. Now, you carry our warning to the stars. Tell them what you've seen. Tell them to stay away. The light surrounding the viral's hand dimmed, and the ship was released. Systems sputtered back to life, engines reignited, and the ship lurched forward. Rizalek didn't give the order, he didn't need to. The crew, driven by sheer terror, set a course to flee the Sol system as fast as their damaged ship could manage. As they crossed the boundary of the system, the voice echoed one last time, not through their systems but in their very minds. This was mercy. Do not return. The viral's hand limped away, leaving behind the silent planet and the awakened guardians of humanity. Though Rizalek's ambition had brought them to the edge of annihilation, it was fear that would carry them back. Fear, and a message that would echo across the galaxy. Do not approach the Earth.